welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today is the time of the month where I tell you guys what books I read. For June, I actually had my TBR picked out by my boyfriend, which I'll put that in the card here. I did a video of that where my boyfriend picked my TBR and a lot of the books I actually got to. So without further ado, let's get into what I read in June. Okay, so I spent a lot of time this month just knocking out my TBR because I have so many books and I started getting really overwhelmed with how many books I had to read. I was like, I just need to get through this TBR. I do still have a good amount of books on my TBR, which I'm still getting through, but I think I made a pretty good dent this month. Here is the stack of an 8 book. Wow, did pretty good. So let's get into it, which the first book is literally at the bottom of the stack. So the first book that I read, The Godhead Complex. This is the second book in the Maze Runner series by James Dashner. Now if you recognize the name, it is also the same author who wrote The Maze Runner, and this is a series that takes place like 70 or 100 years after the Maze Runner event. If you've watched Maze Runner or read the books, then you know the main squad with Thomas and Minho and Newt and all of them. So they're all passed away. They've become famous legends. It's not the same as Maze Runner. I will always have my heart to Maze Runner, but this one is still like, it still like continues the story and you get the whole like, you get to jump back into that world. But to be honest, I've been a little bit disappointed with it. It's not really where I would have liked to see the world going, and I know that that's like, it's more realistic. The first book was a lot better, but I did get bored at some points, and same with this one, I did get bored, and I don't know if I even, to be honest, I'm not even sure if I fully finished it. I think I might have like DNF'd it a little bit and like, or like kind of sped through it because I was really bored and I just wanted to finish it and get off my TBR. That being said though, I do still, there's a third one coming out, and I think just for the sake of completing my series, I probably will get it and continue it. But I don't know, I haven't been very happy with this series lately. It makes me want to just reread the original Maze Runner. So I'm sorry, James Dashner, I do love you and I love Maze Runner, but these books have been a little bit of a disappointment, not gonna lie. Anyway, moving on to the next book, which is a book that I got from a little free library, which was really exciting to get, so lucky to get an actual good book, because I've always had bad luck when it comes to little free libraries and not getting anything good. So I finally got lucky and I got a book series that I have been wanting to read for a while and trying to get into because I know she's really popular, and that is Emily Henry with Beach Read. Again, I got it in a little free library, so she's a little beat up, not in the best condition. But again, it was free, so I mean, how can you complain? This much in, like 50 pages in, like just reading it, and then I just kept finding myself putting it down and getting bored with it, and so I ended up just getting the audiobook because I had a credit on Audible, and so I decided to just go ahead and get it because like I liked it enough to continue it, but I was having a hard time focusing on like actually reading it. So I got the audiobook. I finished the audiobook. So I did finish this book, but to be honest, like I kind of found myself zoning out and not paying attention at some parts, and honestly I don't really remember any of the plot. Well, I mean, I guess I remember the plot, but I don't really remember like specific things of what happened. I know that the plot is January goes to this beach house that her dad that passed away used to own, and she's a writer, she's a romance writer, been like in a writing block, so she goes to this house, moves in, and she discovers a bunch of stuff about her dad that like she didn't know about, and then next door is this guy called Augustus, and he is like her rival in the writing community and world, and he writes a lot of like action-packed stuff, and he's also in a writing block. So they basically switch their genres and decide that he's gonna write a rom-com and she's gonna write some action-packed fantasy, to try to help like to get the ideas flowing, and they end up falling in love, but it's an enemies to lovers kind of love. Okay, yeah, I did rate it 4 stars, but honestly now it's been like 2 weeks since I read it and I can't tell you what happened. I guess I would probably move it down to like 3 stars now that it's been a little while and I can't really remember it. Either way though, I think it was good, it's just not my type of book. Alright, next up we have a book that I also got from a little free library. I thought it was so cute looking and I've never heard anything about it before, and I did not actually expect to pick it up and read it, but I did. I was really bored and I decided to read it, and it was really cute. So that is Read Bottom Up. Now I've seen mixed reviews about this one. I actually ended up kind of liking it. It was a really quick read all through emails. And so like literally the pages just look like this. Like there's a lot of blank spots and there's like no like action or anything. It's literally just like text messages and emails. There's cute little doodles in it as well. And I just thought it was the cutest little book. I love all of the doodles and the like texting, and so I thought it was a really cute book when I picked it up, and that's why I picked it up, because I thought that it would be really easy. I did in fact read it in, I would have read it in a day, but I actually had work. Yeah, I got halfway through and then I went to work, and then the next day I finished it. So if I didn't have work, I would have read it in a day. It was a really quick read and I was very invested in it. Now looking back, like it didn't really like change my life in any way or anything. It was just a nice read and a refresh. So you have the two characters, Madeline and Elliot, and they're the ones who end up falling in love, and then you also get text messages and emails from their best friends as well. Bro, talking to the camera for like an hour straight. So the next book, and the reason I wanted to get water before I continue is because this next book I'm going to talk about a lot because it was a 5-star read for me. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that it was a 5-star read for me because I'm very late to the train. This is an old book that was super popular in a time and age when I wasn't reading and I was also really young. I never thought that I would read this book. It's a book that I would have never gone to a store and bought it, but I got it at a little free library and it's a special collector's edition of it, and so that's why I picked it up. And I was like, well, I got it for free, I gotta read it and see why it was so popular back then. And I understand why it was so popular back then because I have read it now and I really enjoyed it, and I did not think that I was going to enjoy it, but I did. And that is The Fault in Our Stars. I feel so like, I don't know, I feel like weird because like I know like now it's kind of like cringe or something, but back then it was really popular, and so I feel like weird saying that I read this in 2024 and I enjoyed it and gave it 5 stars. Oh, okay, so again, I just want to show you, this is the special edition. It's really pretty. It has the little stars in this edges, and then it has ingrained is his signature, so that is really cool. And well, I guess I shouldn't show the name actually, but the person who previously owned this wrote their name in the front cover here, and I think that that's a really cool detail of like getting used books, is when somebody writes their name in it, and it's just like seeing like it passed down from people, and it kind of makes me want to put my name in it next to the other person. I've been in a reading slump. It's been really bad, and this got me out of the reading slump. It's so easy to read. You would think that it's like kind of boring because like they're just going through like everyday life kind of stuff. There's not really anything crazy that happens. I could not put it down. Like I think I had to go to work at one point and I did not want to stop listening to it. Like I just wanted to keep reading, and for me to like not want to put a book down is very rare. So you know it's a good book if I am like crazy about reading it. This one, if you don't know what this is about and you've been living under a rock, basically Hazel Gray has cancer. She meets this boy at the support group, and he had cancer at one point and he lost his leg, so he has a prosthetic leg. His name is Augustus Waters. They end up falling in love. I mean, what else happens? But they make friends and they go through a bunch of different things together and learn together, and Hazel Grace's favorite author like disappeared and wrote this book with a cliffhanger and then disappeared off the face of the earth and moved to Amsterdam, and so she wants to find out what happened. So I think Augustus ends up emailing him and gets a response, and he invites them to Amsterdam. Augustus uses his wish to go to Amsterdam with Hazel so that they can meet the author. And a bunch of other stuff happens, but that's the main plot. I won't spoil anything for you, but yeah, this one was really, really good. Again, the writing was really easy, so I think that that's also why it made it enjoyable for me, because sometimes when you're in a reading slump, something with easy writing is the perfect thing to get out of it, and this definitely did. So thank you to The Fault in Our Stars for helping me with my reading slump. I also watched the movie after, ended up crying, and it made me really sad. It made me think of my boyfriend, and so I called my boyfriend crying after, and literally was just calling him and being like, I love you so much, I love you so much, I love you so much. So that's what this book and that movie did to me. Okay, so the next book is a book that I got as a proof copy from work, because if you don't know, I work at Barnes & Noble, and we get free copies of books before they're out, the proofreads. So this one was for our book that is like the young adult pick of the month, and that is 12th Night. This one just looked interesting, and I noticed that it was young adult, so I was like, it's a cute little young adult, it's like 300 pages, it'll be nice, so I picked it up. It was a little different from what I like normally read, but like kind of not at the same time. It's the same like young adult romance book, but this one was where they're doing like, I don't really know exactly, because like they're playing this game, and this like RPG, is that it? An RPG game? It's basically like Dungeons and Dragons kind of game, but like with like Merlin and Arthur and stuff. So yeah, it was interesting, but basically they play this game, kind of becoming friends, and like falling in love and stuff. To be honest, I'm really like brain fog on this right now, but it is an enemies to lovers, and basically Jack and Viola are the ones that have a little romance. So I give this one 3 stars. It was just kind of like a, it was a nice book. I read it, but will I ever read it again? Probably not. But it was definitely cute and worth the read, so I would recommend it. And it was like a quick read, I would say. Next up is Icon and Inferno by Mary Lou. This one is also a proof copy. You can see it's very not finalized looking. This one is actually the second book in the series. This is the first book, which is Stars and Smoke, which I loved this book. It's secret agents, young adult, they fall in love kind of thing. It was everything I wanted to be, and it was great. So this is the second book. Now if you watched my video where my boyfriend picked out my TBR, this is the first book that he picked, and I actually read it like very shortly after. And I finished it on like the last day of the month. That's why it's not in this video, because I already finished it before June even came around. Winter and Sydney, and Sydney is like a secret agent. Winter is a superstar, and in the first book they ended up working together for some kind of scheme, and they needed Winter, the pop star, and then him and Sydney get close and they become friends and eventually lovers. And now I think this one takes place a year later, and they need him for another mission or something, and they reunite, and there's still feelings there, but Sydney doesn't want to admit those feelings because she, knows that it's never gonna happen kind of thing, and that it's better if they stay apart because it's for his safety kind of thing. Yeah, there's a lot that happens. It's very action-packed, but also like it has a lot of slow moments with the romance, which I like. in a lot of like building and stuff. So I think I gave this one 3 or 4 stars. I did like the first book a lot better just because like it's more interesting when they're first building stuff instead of coming back a year later and like already knowing stuff. I typically do usually like the first book, and that's the case with this one. So this one was a 5-star, this one was 4 stars. But again, really like and definitely recommend this series. Alright, next up is a book that I have had since October of like 2021, and that is Legendborn. This book has been on my TBR for the longest time. At one point I did make it 100 pages in and I just kept putting it down, and I don't even know why, because it was really interesting. At the time there was other books that were more intriguing to my interest, and so I just kept putting this off and putting this off. I've tried so many times to read this book and I keep putting it down, and I finally finished this like 500 page book. I did it, y'all. Where's my trophy? Because I feel very proud for finally reading this book. This book was really good. I gave it 4 stars. It's a very interesting concept. There is a lot of world building, subjects that it touches on, which is really interesting and nice to see. The train has slammed into a brick wall and I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. This book was good. Alright, last but not least is The Other Side of Infinity. This book was another book that my boyfriend picked out in the last few videos for my June TBR, and I loved this book. It's an interesting concept and an interesting take on the classic like YA romance. December here can see the future, and Nick wants to find her missing mom, and they end up falling in love through that. So this one I gave 4 stars. It was a nice quick summer read and I loved it. Okay, so that is all of the books that I read in June. Okay, so if you guys watched the video where my boyfriend picked out my TBR, he picked out 5 books, and of those 5 books I only read 2 that he picked out. The rest were books that I read on my own. I do want to say thank you to my boyfriend for picking the books because that was a really fun video. You picked some good books, so thank you. These were both really good. Now as for the end of this video, I'm going to recap by saying that I read 8 books in the month of June, and of those books I'm going to tell you my favorite and my least favorite. So my favorite and my 5-star read of the month is The Fault in Our Stars. I loved this book and it would definitely be a reread for me. It is really good and worth your time. Now as for my least favorite book, I'm going to sadly have to say the Godhead Complex. I am sorry, James Jasner, I love your book. I got really bored with this one. So that is all of my books. Comment down below how many books you read, if you read any of the books that I did in this video, and what you thought of them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe for more bookish videos. It helps a lot with my channel, and I want to share with you guys all of the bookish things. Make sure to follow my book talk. I post on there daily, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye! Oh my gosh, this video is all over the place. I apologize.